way back when, long ago, far away. See, I was a 15-year-old young man with a summer job, and my mom had had a 3-year bout with ovarian cancer. She'd been in and out of the hospital, critically ill several times, and we'd been told that she wouldn't leave the hospital. Each time she rallied, got better, went home, and as a 15-year-old young man, I expected nothing less this time. The look on the pastor's face this time told me it wouldn't be that way. My mom died that day. Effects of her illness and her death is what propelled me into medicine and ultimately caused me to go into wellness medicine. I was an ambitious young man. I worked hard in college, got into medical school, and I was going to cure cancer. But when I got to medical school, I made a very important discovery that some of you have already made. And we're going to talk about this a lot tonight. It's better to prevent a disease than to try to cure it. And so that became my ambition, to try to prevent diseases, and that's what brings me up to here today. So that's a little bit about me. That's a thumbnail biographical sketch of what's gone in my life. So let's hear a little bit about you. Anybody have diabetes here? Any high blood pressure? Thyroid disease? A little bit. Any of you just feeling tired all the time? Don't have energy like you used to have? How many of you aren't sleeping well? Any belly fat? Quite a bit. All right, so a lot of diseases going on. So here's a question: do we have a problem with our healthcare healthcare system in this country?
Yes.
Everybody says yes. And why is that? Why do you say that?
Because people are still obese and disease-ridden.
Right. The healthcare system's not doing much for them. So if you go to your doctor with one of these problems, what does he do typically? Gives you medicine. That's right. So a lot of diseases going on, and the healthcare system's not fixing us much. I think we have a problem with our healthcare system, and it's going to go into this in a little bit more. But we have the most expensive healthcare system in the world, and we don't have the healthiest people in the world by far. A lot of countries that spend a third and a quarter of what we spend on healthcare have healthier lives, and that's important for us. Important for us to know. Why do we have such a crisis with our healthcare system? I mean, how do we get in this place? How do we spend so much money on healthcare and get so little results? It's not an easy answer, is it? A lot of things going on. I'm going to unravel a little bit for you. One thing you have to understand, and I like a cozy crowd. This is great. These are both industries. They are for-profit industries, and even not-for-profit, like hospitals and hospital systems, are run like they're for-profit systems because they try to build up their capital and their resources to try to expand, to cover more areas. So everything's run like a for-profit industry. And these are two codependent industries. Codependency is a word we're all familiar with. The healthcare system and the health insurance system. And one depends upon the other. The health insurance system fills up with money from you, from the government, and from your employers, and it pours that money over into the healthcare system. And it's important that this money be transferred, because obviously if the health insurance system quit paying the healthcare system, both systems go down, so they're codependent. What's the important link between the health insurance system and the healthcare system? What makes the money flow from the insurance to the healthcare system? What? Sick people. What sick people? Us. And does it benefit these industries when you're a little bit sick or when you're real sick? Real sick. Real sick is what opens the spigot up. That makes the money flow, right? So I'm not saying there's bad characters. I'm not saying they're all in it for the money. But you have to understand that financial incentives work. And the healthcare system and the health insurance system both benefit, they profit by us being sick. So there's a start for answering the question, why are we in such a fix? Our industries are set up so they profit on our illness. And so can we depend on them to get us well?
No.
So who can we depend on? Whose responsibility is it to get us well? Who's that? Ours. That mean, Brittany, it's your responsibility to get you well? That's absolutely right. That's absolutely right. And that's the number one point we need to make tonight. So this is such a cozy crowd. We're going to try to move through this quickly and get to everybody's favorite dinner, right? All right, this is real simple. The wellness gauge, I'm going to give you just a few words of explanation, and then we're going to talk about it a little bit. So this is green on the wellness gauge. This is as God made you. All your internal systems are working well. They're self-correcting and self-healing. Everything is functioning together and interacting as it's supposed to. You're well. Life goes on, things happen to us, and we go from green to yellow. This is where you have a disease, you have a diagnosis, you have to take a medicine, you don't feel like you used to, you're not sleeping well, you don't have energy. That's the yellow. Things get worse, you have several diseases, you can feel yourself going downhill rapidly. It changed from year to year, maybe even month to month. You've gone from yellow to orange, and then there's the red. Red is what I call RIA, riding in an ambulance. These are people who need help right then, they're gonna suffer disability or death. So I have 4 questions for you about the wellness gauge. Real easy questions. First question is, where are you? How many of you are in the green? Good. A tentative hand or 2. How many in the yellow? Things aren't as good as you'd like for them to be. Good. Anybody in the orange and willing to admit it? No, nobody tonight. Anybody in the red? I don't want to know about it. You're disqualified from dinner, but I can help you. I know CPR. All right, second question about the wellness gauge. Easiest question of the night. Where do you want to be? Universal. Nobody has a death wish. We all want to live long and well. We all want to be in the green. All right, third question about the wellness gauge. Which direction are you going? Based not on wishful thinking, but on your behavior in the last 6 months, are you moving more to the right or are you moving to the left? How many feel like you're moving to the right? Excellent. And how many of you are moving to the left and you're willing to admit it? All right, thank you for your honesty. So final question about the wellness gauge has a 2-part answer. Whose responsibility is it to get you there? We've talked about where you're at, where you want to be, which direction you're going. Whose responsibility is it to get you to where you want to be? Which for everybody is in the green. Whose responsibility is it? That's right, your responsibility. Every individual's responsibility. Is it your doctor's? Is it the healthcare systems? Good luck with that, all right? All right, and the second part of the question is who's going to help you? I'll give you a hint. That's right, that's right. See, that wasn't such a hard question. This is my family, 10 kids, my beautiful wife, the guy with the beard, and 7 kids of our own. We adopted 3. It was with some of these older kids I had my own health challenge. We always loved the mountains. We hiked in the mountains, go to Colorado every summer, sometimes twice a summer, climb mountains, hike on mountains. And I'd always been the alpha dad. Any of you have an alpha dad? You know what I mean? Pushing you all the time. Hurry up, not time for rest, not time for break. You've had a long enough break, let's keep going, keep pushing. I'd always been that way. Well, this year, the kids turned the tables on me. They got some spring in their step and they'd gotten stronger like kids do as they grow up. And they were going along ahead of me, talking, telling riddles, and I'm huffing and puffing behind them. And then the trail got steeper. They got quicker, I got further behind. And I decided that I was the man here, I was going to catch up with them. And I got so short of breath, I didn't know where the next breath was going to come from. And I had tightness in my chest, and I had a near panic, just really a crisis. My kids slowed down, I got in front of them, so they had to wait on me. But I had a lesson that day. I saw what it was like for my family to go on without me. And I didn't like the way that felt. And it motivated me. And I started taking better care of myself. I started eating right. I lost weight. I started exercising regularly. And ultimately, that was another one of my motivators to go into wellness medicine, to figure out how to help myself so I could help other people.
The American healthcare system is badly broken.
The present system doesn't work, and it's going to take us down. We need a whole new kind of medicine.
We're in the grip of a very big industry, and it doesn't want to stop making money.
If I spend 5 minutes with you and then put in one of these stents, I probably get paid $1,500. For me to spend 45 minutes with a patient to try to figure out what their true problem is, probably get paid $15. It's a completely irrational system.
We don't have a healthcare system in this country. We have a disease management system.
We're spending almost twice as much in America as any other country on earth, but our lifespan isn't even in the top 20.
30,000 Medicare recipients die each year from care they didn't need. That's the equivalent of a jumbo jet crashing every single week. If the aviation industry killed as many people, we'd be up in arms.
The administration pays you based on how many patients you see. All right, who's next? If you try and buck the system, someone says, what can we do to get your productivity up? I'm not interested in getting my productivity up. I'm interested in helping patients.
We're seeing the military just being a microcosm of the problem society's having.
Soldiers' use of prescription drugs has tripled in the past 5 years.
This
medications I was on.
Only by accepting that the American healthcare system is badly broken will we be able to seek out the escape fires, the potential solutions. There are answers.
One company has figured out how to lower healthcare costs by more than 40%.
We provide incentives for people to engage in healthier behaviors.
The Army Surgeon General directed that we establish the Pain Management Task Force to take a look at alternatives to narcotics.
I was skeptical, so skeptical.
I've gotten a lot of inspiration, a different perspective. There's a different way of doing things that is possible.
If I think about what healthcare could be like, it would have a lot more care in it.
The healthcare system is unsustainable. We're really mortgaging the future. Not just the health of healthcare, we're talking about the health of the nation.
Nice little clip, says it all. So I'm going to be real up front with you about what my motivation is tonight, so you don't have to wonder why is this guy feeding us dinner? Is he just a nice guy? Well, yeah, I'm a nice guy, but that's not why I'm feeding you dinner. I'm trying to get you to sign up for a consult in my clinic. That's my goal, is to get you all to sign up to come in and see me in the clinic, and that's my only motive. I'm trying to give you an education tonight why you should come into my clinic for a consult, and you get to know me tonight. You get to know my philosophy and how I think and how I like to handle problems. And when you come to the clinic, I get to know you, and we get to address your problems and decide, can we help you get on the track to a better health future? Does that make sense? Good. Thank you, guys. So I'm just going to steam forward. Seems like a really good crowd. We're kind of small. I can go a couple ways with this. I can go kind of give you the toned down version, or sugar-coated version, or we can go straight for it. How do you want to do this? Straightforward. You want it just all out front? Good. We get dinner quicker that way. Everybody's in favor of that. And I just want to say up front, I talk about the healthcare system a lot. I'm not criticizing anybody's doctors, okay? Doctors are just part of the system. It's not their fault. They're doing the best they can. They do their job and I do mine. And I want to be real clear, I'm not applying to be your primary care doctor. I'm a wellness doctor. That's what I enjoy doing. Trying to get people off the track of increasing illness and disease onto the track of wellness. That's what I do, and that's the job I'm applying for, okay? Consider this my application. So we're going to talk about 4 systems, and this is getting down to the roots of the thing. This is the educational part. There are 4 systems that interact in our bodies, and these are the root causes of what goes wrong with our body. And I'm going to cover these kind of fast. There's a lot of science. I'm not going to give you most of the science. We're just going to cover the surface of it, but I think it'll be very informative. After those 4 systems, we're going to talk about 5 hormones, and one very special, important person. I keep coming back to this. Who's the important person I'm talking about?
Me.
That's right. Why do I keep bringing this up, Frida?
Well, because we are the most important thing. We need to learn what we can do to help ourselves.
Absolutely. Well said. She's a plant. Okay, the first system we're going to talk about is information systems. If there was a creator God that was going to make the most complex being that ever has been in the universe, and he wanted a blueprint for that being, it would have to be a very complex, the most amazing thing that the universe has ever seen. It would have to be able to change on the fly based on conditions. It would have to produce different things and different components. And that's what we have, our DNA. It's the blueprint for human life. And it does all those things and a lot more. And I won't go into all the details, but it codes for 20 or 25,000 proteins. And based on the production of those proteins, you have health or you don't have health. And based on how your DNA functions, you have a young life or you have an old life. You have a healthy life or an unhealthy life. When I was in medical school, we were all full, medical field was all full of itself because of the discoveries that we'd made about the connection between certain diseases and families. And the saying came out, your DNA is your destiny. And that was accepted as a truism. You're right, it's not true. And that's what we know today. There's something even more important than your DNA. Any of you heard of epigenetics?
Yeah.
Good. Epigenetics. And this is what turns your genes on and off. It's even more important than your genetics. Every cell in your body has the same DNA, exactly the same DNA. But they're all different. They have different functions, different structures. They do different things because different portions of the DNA are turned on, depending on what's demanded of that cell. And every cell makes different proteins, or the DNA functions differently at different times based on the stress. That's all because of epigenetics. And the good thing about epigenetics is that, to a large extent, you're in control of epigenetics. You're stuck with your DNA, but you can control your epigenetics. You can determine when the switches are turned on to make healthy, healing molecules, and when the switches are turned on to make inflammatory, bad molecules. So your DNA information system is vitally important for you, and you're taking control of this is what's going to determine your future health. Sounds important to me. Second thing, energy systems. This is your metabolism. I love this story because we don't think about this much. We take energy for granted. So here's a trick question. Where does all the energy that we're using right now, that we use every day in our bodies, where does it ultimately come from? Where?
What you're eating?
I told you it was a trick question. Ultimately, where does all that energy come from? We're warm. Warm. Where does glucose get its energy? Where does food get its energy? Where? The sun. Right out there. The sun. Every bit of energy that we have is ultimately comes from the sun. Plants, by a process called photosynthesis, you all remember this from high school biology, with a special molecule called chlorophyll, capture energy. The chlorophyll molecule captures energy and uses it to join carbon atoms together. And those carbon-linked atoms represent stored energy. We ingest these carbon links in the form of carbohydrates, proteins, glucose, and fats, and it's transported in our body to a part of the cell called the mitochondria. You guys all remember this, right? In the mitochondria, everything's there to break the carbon atoms apart. When the carbon atoms are broken apart, that stored energy is released. So why should you be concerned about energy systems? Cute story, but what does it matter to me? Well, if you don't have everything there that you need to transfer the energy to the energy currency of the cell, the energy gets loose and it causes what we call a reactive oxygen species, which means a damaging molecule. That's what it means. It has stored energy, doesn't know what to do with it, and it damages either the cell wall, the cell membrane, the nucleus, the DNA, or the mitochondria. Does damage. So you need to be well nourished. You need to have everything there so that you can transfer that energy. The second reason why this is important to you is because there's something that helps mop up this energy before it does damage. You see this on vitamin bottles. It says contains extra blank. Excellent. Good. That's exactly right. Antioxidants. This is what antioxidants do. You hear about antioxidants all the time. This is why they're important. They capture that energy before damage can be done, and they mitigate damage that's done to your body. So this is vitally important. A lot of the aging that happens to us happens because things go wrong in our metabolism system, in our energy systems. Does that make sense? All right. The third system we're going to talk about is our immune system. We're all alive today because our immune system's working. We would probably last, if our immune system shut down right now, we would last 2 or 3 days maybe. You've all heard of bubble babies? These are people that are born without functioning immune systems. They have to be put in an isolated environment at birth. And then they all decide at some point in time when they reach adults they're going to get out of their bubble, live there 1 or 2 weeks and die. So without an immune system, we die. So we're alive today just because our immune system protects us. So what's the big deal? Why should we be concerned about our immune systems? Well, part of our immune system is our fight or flight system. You guys have all heard about that, right? This is when your body recognizes that there's a threat. You secrete adrenaline and cortisol, and the adrenaline mobilizes, it shunts your blood to your peripheral muscles, raises your blood pressure, increases your heartbeat, and the cortisol mobilizes energy in the form of a lot of times breaking down muscle and turning it into glucose so we can have energy to do something. The problem with this is that today we don't face physical threats very often. How often do we have a threat that we have to physically react to? Fortunately, not very often. We see it on the news a lot of times, but most of the threats we face are emotional threats. Most of the threats we face are on the news. It gets us stirred up. But this does affect us, and the science proves that it turns our system on. When people watch, gruesome movies or even the evening news, blood pressure goes up, pulse rate goes up, glucose goes up. All the things that show us that our fight or flight system is being turned on. So it's turned on perpetually. So this affects our lives because, one, cortisol mobilizes energy that you don't use, so that energy is redeposited. Stored energy. What do we call stored energy? Fat. So, and that's one of the causes of belly fat. And the other thing that happens to us, because our cortisol gets hijacked, because we're under stress all the time, is it's not available to do its other functions. Cortisol is the master hormone. It controls the other hormones. It also mitigates and modulates your immune system. So feeds back and it controls everything else. So if you're under stress all the time, your immune system doesn't work right, and you're much more vulnerable to disease and illness, getting every virus that comes around, and even major diseases. If you're chronically stressed, you're much more likely to get a cancer. That's part of your immune system that quits working well when you're under stress all the time. So immune systems are only alive because of it, and it's vitally important for us, but it goes wrong and that affects our health, affects health. So the fourth system we're going to talk about is the signaling system. This is the cockpit of the airplane as implied in this photograph. This is the control. A lot of information comes into this cockpit, a lot of information goes out. We think about our nervous system controlling our body by nerves. You know, I'm able to do this with my hand because my brain's sending signals from my nerves out to the muscles in my arm and hand. I'm able to move it around. But our body controls itself mostly with chemical signals. These are called hormones. There's several hundred hormones. We're going to talk about 5 of them tonight. We've already talked about one of them, cortisol, very important hormone. We can't live without it. A lot of our diseases are because our cortisol is wacky, because we're chronically stressed. Second hormone we're going to talk about is thyroid. Somebody raised their hand with a thyroid problem. Probably several more of you have thyroid problems that just haven't been identified. Thyroid is your thermostat hormone. It's what turns your metabolism on and off. Every cell in your body has a thyroid receptor. If there's not an activated thyroid hormone attached to that receptor, that cell won't have normal metabolism. If you have enough cells in your body that don't have normal metabolism, 1, you're not going to have energy. 2, that energy is going to be stored. What do we call stored energy? Fat, too much fat. So consequence of that. So thyroid hormone extremely important, and there's epidemic of thyroid problems, and it's complicated why, but it has to do with toxins, it has to do with our cortisol, with our stress levels, but there's a lot of people with thyroid problems, a lot of people with undiagnosed thyroid problems out there. The third hormone we're going to talk about is insulin. All right, y'all know about insulin. Secreted by beta cells in your pancreas in response to elevated blood sugar. When you secrete insulin opens up gates in your muscles, in your fat cells, and your liver cells to take sugar out of your blood. So it lowers your sugar. So blood sugar goes up, insulin goes out, opens the gates, blood sugar goes down. If you don't have enough insulin, the gates don't open, your blood sugar goes up, you can get sick, you can die from that. If you chronically don't have quite enough insulin out there, or if you're resistant to the effects of insulin, the gates don't open widely enough, your sugar stays high, and you have a lot of effects, and you have all the complications of diabetes. Huge problem. Again, epidemic proportions in our country has to do with the way the adolescents coming up this generation are heavier, more obesity among them, and they're going to be facing a lot of diabetes and all the complications of diabetes very soon in life. Huge. It even, diabetes increases your risk of every disease that people die from, including Alzheimer's. Increases your risk of Alzheimer's. So it's a huge risk. So the 4th and 5th hormones are the stars of the show. Anybody want to make a guess? Come on. No, it's not that complicated. Estrogen and testosterone, right? We all love estrogen and testosterone. They make the difference between men and women, right? This sums it up. Men are pretty simple most of the time. Women, not so much. So, estrogen and testosterone are responsible for the differences between men and women, how we develop, how we behave, almost everything about us. To illustrate, there's this story. There was a man in New York City who had, he was an entrepreneur and decided that there were too many single men in New York City. So he opens up, too many single women. He opens up a husband store. Very simple rule. Any woman can go to any floor she wants to and pick out a man, but you can't go back to the previous floor. There's 6 stories in this building, Major Street, Manhattan. So our young woman goes into the husband store. She's going to pick up a mate. And on the first floor, she finds men who have jobs. Yeah, that helps. That's a good start, right? She says, that's a good start, but she knows there's other choices, so she goes to the 2nd floor. There she finds men who have jobs and love kids. She's excited about that. She thinks maybe there's kids in my future. I think this is good. But again, she's got choices. So she goes to the 3rd floor. She finds there are men who have jobs, love kids, and they're good looking. Well, yeah, that's good enough. That's exactly what she thinks. She opens her purse up and starts to rummage around, finding her credit card, and then she realizes, I've got other choices. So she has to know what's going on. She goes to the 4th floor. She finds men who have jobs, good looking, like kids, and they help with chores.
Wow.
Did I bring you home? Only the women get that one. But she has other choices. She goes to the 5th floor. There she finds men who have jobs, love kids, good looking, help with chores, and they're incurable romantics. flowers all the time, back rubs. What can I do for you, honey? Just amazing stuff like this. David's illustrating this for us right now. And she's just about to make a purchase, but it's just driving her crazy. What's on the 6th floor? So she goes to the 6th floor, and on the 6th floor, she finds a sign that says, "Welcome to the 6th floor. You're the 35 millionth visitor. There are no men here. This is for women who can't be satisfied." So the same man decides this is gender bias, and he opens up a wives store. Across the street, same rule, 6 stories. You can go to any floor, but you can't go back to the previous floor. So our young man goes into the wives store. He's going to make a purchase. And on the 1st floor, he finds, guess what? Women who like sex. Of course. It's got nothing to do with jobs. He does. He's about to make his purchase, pulling bills out of his wallet, and then realizes, I've got other choices. So he goes to the 2nd floor. There he finds women who like sex and have money. He makes his purchase there. We don't know what's on the other floors. Nobody's ever been there. So we love the differences in men and women, and those stories are just to illustrate those differences. Any controversy about hormone replacement, men or women? Let's start with women. You heard anything about hormone replacement, why we should or shouldn't?
Are you talking about bioidentical, or are you talking
Just the general whole package. Hormone replacement. Pellets, pills, patches, creams.
they help you go you get older, but I don't know why you take it before that.
Lots of reasons. We can go over that. But there's controversies about it, and most of you, if you've asked for hormones, been offered hormones, or not been offered hormones, more likely by your doctor, it's because of a study that came out in 2003 called the Women's Health Initiative. It was a study that was supposed to answer the question, should women get hormone replacement therapy or not? And the conclusion that the Women's Health Initiative came to was no, because there was increased risk of breast cancer and increased risk of heart disease. Right. And so most doctors still operate off of that study. American College of Gynecologists and Obstetricians, ACOG, still says women should get the least amount of hormones for the least amount of time possible. But the real science says not so. 2014 study came out in the American Journal of Public Health, a mainline journal, that said it was a relook at the data from the Women's Health Initiative and a look at the women that participated in that study. And the conclusion they came to was as many as 90,000 women in the United States have died because doctors followed the advice of the Women's Health Initiative. That is, because women didn't get hormones, 90,000 women died in the U.S. in that 10-year period. So there's a lot of recent science that says that, again, bioidentical hormones done right, the right way, the right route, to the right group of people, are entirely safe. Doesn't increase the risk of breast cancer, does not increase the risk of heart disease. Well, what's the good? What's the benefit? Why should I do that? Gives you stronger bones, number one, and that's a huge thing. 2, helps your brain, decreases your chances of dementia, decreases your chances of depression, all kinds of cognitive decline. Helps your energy level, and there's actually 400 functions in your body of estrogen, and that's estrogen alone. And so if you have the whole package, if you get, like women should get, estrogen, a little bit of testosterone and progesterone, you get myriad benefits. You feel better about yourself, you're better, you put on muscle better, not for bodybuilding, but one of the problems that happens, and we'll talk about this a little more in a minute, as we age, our ability to make muscle goes down. That's why we lose muscle as we age. That's why our body habitus changes as we age. We tend to be stooped, and we don't walk as erect, we don't have as confident of a step. Some of that's from loss of muscle mass, and replacing your hormones helps that in men and women. So my philosophy of replacing hormones in women, there's 2 reasons to replace hormones. One is to help your symptoms, to make you feel better. The second, and the main reason why I participate in it, is it gives you a better health outlook. You have a better health outlook, a better future outlook if you replace hormones than if you don't. And that's the simple truth. And my philosophy is to offer women options. I'll tell you what's out there. We'll talk about your individual case, what the complications are, why you should, and maybe why you shouldn't. And that's my job, is to offer you options, and you make the choice. Make sense?
Even if you're 74?
Even if you're 74.
I probably need it worse.
You might, Frida.
So interesting.
Yeah, you might. And we can drill down in my office. Just come and see me. We'll talk about it. Definitely a possibility. What about men? Any controversy about replacing testosterone in men?
It's low, and then they just use the Dio and the other things, like the strive to get up in the morning and be productive.
Right. A lot of that's going on. And a lot of it's undiagnosed. There are a lot of young men that have low testosterone. I have men who are in their upper 20s, lower 30s with 200 and 300 testosterone levels. And, 300 is the very limit of what doctors consider normal. A young man should be 800 or 900. And you don't have to get up and, some guys are just lazy, right? Face it, but a lot of guys are unmotivated and look lazy because their hormones are out of whack. Again, it's epidemic. This is changing our society. We don't know what all the complicating things are, but every decade, worldwide, the fertility of men goes down 10%. Every decade. That's a testosterone problem, and probably has to do with toxins.
What's causing that for younger men?
Well, we don't know. Toxicity is one of the things. Stress is another thing. Cortisol affects all our hormones, and that's one of the things. And so bad diet, stress, obesity, lack of good manly stimulation, all those things affect testosterone levels. So, and there's controversy about testosterone as well. There was TV ads a few years ago. If you've taken any form of testosterone and had a heart attack, please call so-and-so law firm. I don't know if you saw those ads, but they went away. Yeah, they went away because it was based on bad science, and the real science is that taking testosterone does not increase your risk of prostate cancer and does not increase your risk of heart disease. Again, if it's done bioidentical and if it's done right, it doesn't increase your risk. Again, my philosophy for men is to check your levels, see where you're at, offer you options, and everybody can decide for themselves. So hormones are huge. It's part of the whole picture. It's part of all the components of making us healthy and making us well again. So what goes wrong? We talked about these four systems and how they work together, how they're the root cause of what's going wrong with us, and what is it that goes wrong? Why do these systems fail us? Well, we don't eat right. How many of you feel like you eat right 100%? Good, I don't have to call any of you liars. Nobody's going to. We don't eat what we should. And this is the number one take-home point. If you don't come and see me, you just came for the meal tonight and you're going to get what you can get. Remember this, if you want to live the best life possible, you have to eat the best diet possible. The most important thing to change about your life is your diet. The American diet's high calorie, low nutrition. And you need to exactly reverse that. You need to not eat what you crave, you need to eat what you should eat. And you can learn to like it. You can learn to crave that. So we need a high nutrition, low calorie diet. Number one point, just remember that. We have to eat right if we're going to fix ourselves. And we're eating wrong. America's eating wrong in so many different ways. Bad information. A lot of bad information out there leading us wrong. This is the ab buster. You guys seen the infomercial for this? A model gets on it and shows off his or her abs and acts like that's how they got the abs. It's marketing. It's got nothing to do with this piece of machine. A lot of people trying to sell you stuff on the internet, on TV. What about the pharmaceutical ads? Do you like them? No. I love them. They're great entertainment. How do they go? They're all the same, right? They say the name of the medicine, and then the voice tells you why you should take the medicine, and it spends about 5 seconds on the good of it, and then what does he talk about? All the bad stuff. It goes on and on and on and on and on, and how does it always end? Dead. If you die from this medicine, call your doctor, No. It's always that. So these people they're the number 2 spender on marketing, the pharmaceutical companies. So they know what they're doing. These guys are experts. So how does this work? They tell you the name of the medicine and then all this bad stuff. What's going on the screen? Beautiful, happiness, family, men and women in hot tubs beside each other, holding hands. So how does that work? What you remember a year from that commercial is the name of the medicine and the visual. All right? And you have a good association. What they're implanting in your mind is the name of the medicine and the visual, the happiness. You don't remember any of the bad stuff. Right? So if you or a family member is ever faced with the choice about medicines, you're going to say, yeah, that's a good medicine. Based on what? That visual they've implanted in your mind. They're manipulating us. So that's another illustration of bad information. A lot of stuff is going on out there that doesn't have your health best interest at heart. Another piece of the solution about why is our healthcare system so ineffective. It's not really there to serve our health. It's there to serve the profits of the industries involved. Does that make sense? A lot of bad information. Stress. Physical stress. All kinds of physical stress. Sitting too much is physical stress. Believe it or not, increases your risk of a heart disease. Chemical stress. You guys believe we live in a toxic world? Yes. Evidence all over the place. And it affects us in so many ways we don't even know. All these chemicals we get in tiny amounts that they think is okay, and they add up. They damage The damage that each one of those molecules do adds up, and it's what results in you having leukemia, having Alzheimer's later in life. You can't prove it, but what are you going to do? You're going to keep on putting those things in your body? Take your chances? I'm not. I'm going to clean things up as best as I can. Emotional stress. This is what we all think about. So my wife mentioned that we went to Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan, the place in the world that's furthest from an ocean. If you look right in the middle of Asia, that's where Kyrgyzstan is. We went with 5 kids, 2 in diapers. There were no processed foods in the country, which is a good thing. Sacks of flour, sacks of rice, vegetables in the market, meat hanging in the street. And we didn't know the culture, we didn't know the language. Does that sound stressful?
Yes.
Best 2 years of our lives. Why?
No TV, don't have to drive a car.
All the things that make America stressful. I mean, all the material stuff we didn't have there. All the noise and activity we didn't have there. All the ambition and drive we didn't have there. You know, I'm a patriot. I love America. But the land of opportunity is the land of stress. How many of you have stress in your lives? The rest of you are really, really innocent. You just don't know. Okay, everybody's got stress. America's a stressful place. It's a stressful planet. America's what we have over the rest of the planet is not lower stress. We have higher stress. So this is one of the things that goes wrong with our lives, why we don't have good health. And I mentioned before, as we age, our building up hormones go down, and our fat storing and fat producing hormones go up. So if we don't take care of things, as in cleaning up our diet, living right, exercising, we're going to change our body type as we age into something like this. It's going to happen to us naturally. Not being proactive. We have to be responsible for our own health. Depending on somebody else is where it all starts to go wrong. Walking the dog.
Oh, that's bad.
That's bad. He's getting walked at least. Probably a lot faster than he would have if his owner was walking him. So it's complicated. A lot of pieces. Nutrition, detox, hormones, the brain, nervous system, fitness, spirituality. What are we going to do about it? Treat the whole person by putting the pieces together. Brain, spirituality, fitness, hormones, nutrition, detoxification, all in a system. People fail to change because they don't address everything at once. And this is the reason why, if you ever wonder why people get on an exercise program and it lasts for a few months or 6 months and then they get off, or they go on a diet and it works a little while, they lose weight for a few months and then it goes off, because they're not addressing all the systems. You're not changing everything at once, you're just pulling one of the components out of position, it's going to pop back into place if you don't address everything. If you want to fix things, you have to address them all at once. And that's what we do. That's what Restore Wellness Center does. We have the pillars of health. Detoxification. You've got to get the toxins out of your body. Our detox system accomplishes 3 things for us. It strengthens the liver's, your God-given capacity to detoxify yourself so that you can get toxins out. 2, it helps cleanse your gut so that your gut is well. It's not a purge. It doesn't make you go to the bathroom a lot. And 3, it gets you off the bad diet you're on so you can transition into a perfect diet, which is a high nutrition, low calorie diet. This is easier than you think with help. On your own, it's impossible. With help, it's very possible, very doable, and achievable, and really not that difficult. Exercise, third vital component. A lot of people try to do everything right, but they just don't want to exercise. Exercise is hugely important for that one thing I talked about earlier, epigenetics. Exercise turns on epigenetic switches, and without that switching, you're not going to optimize your health. If you do everything else right and you don't exercise, you're going to have compromised health in the future. Exercise is vitally important. Does everybody need to spend an hour and a half, 4 times a week in the gym? No. You can get it done 20 minutes, 3 or 4 times a week. You really can, if you focus and you know what you're doing. That's not for everybody, but everybody's individual. And hormone balancing. Hormones are the master control of our bodies. Without balancing our hormones, it's hard to get everything else right. And we have a lot of things wacky in our hormones these days. Has to do with toxins, has to do with our diet, has to do with our stress, and we don't even know all the factors that are going on, but a lot of people have wacky hormones. The brain. These are the pillars that support brain health, and I'm doing a seminar next week about brain health. You guys have already been to this one, so you can't come to that one, but we can talk about brain health when you come in for your consultation. The brain is vitally important. The brain is who you are. If we think of our bodies and we identify with this flesh, but our brain is really who we are. It's where all our memories are. It's where our mind is. It's where we think, where we calculate, where we have our feelings, where we have our sensations. But you can't take care of your brain if you don't take care of the rest of your body. They're codependent. And then spiritual. People who live long and well have a purpose for living. Vitally important. I love this because I love trees. Best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So let's make the obvious application. The best time to take care of our health is 20 years ago. Second best time, now. And that's the only opportunity available to us is right now. And who's responsible to do that? We are. I think we all get that, right? Hammered that one home. So, what we do in the clinic is try to get people off the path of illness and increasing disease and on the path to wellness. And you need help to do this. When I was a younger man, I decided on 2 different occasions I wanted to be a pilot. And I went and took any pilots in the room? No. I took pilot lessons 2 different occasions, and each time I got to the point where I was ready to solo. That's when you phone the plane a little bit and the instructor says you can take off and land on your own. He's going to send you off. And each time I got busy, my life got busy, and I finally decided my life's too busy. I'm not going to take flying lessons again until I have a reason to fly, which never happened, so I never did it. But when I'm at that point and the instructor says I can fly alone, any of you want to go on that flight with me? That first solo flight? Not if you're smart. You don't. What kind of person do you want to fly with? Experience. Somebody that's been trained with a mentor, with a pilot trainer that knows what he's doing, and somebody that's got thousands of hours. Your health journey is just as important, right? You wouldn't get in a plane with me because you know that your life would be at risk if you flew the first time I soloed. And you're not going to take that risk. So we're talking about your life in this case too, in the case of your health. And you need a mentor, you need help, you need a guide. And that's the job I'm applying for, to help you fly the plane. Any of you think that sounds like a good idea? So how many of you are on board at this point? This is just a little pre-survey. How many of you are ready for a consultation? Some of you still thinking about it, processing. Okay, that's okay. We'll get back to it, okay? We're almost there. Got to move forward. Don't be like this fat chap. So what we do is break down the steps. We look at each person. We take your history, we get your lab, and we figure out what each person needs to do. What are the steps that we need to take to get this person? What are the action steps to get them on the path to wellness? And everybody's different. There are similarities between each journey, but everybody's a little bit different. What's the intervention that this person needs? What are the things they need to know? And we know very well the education everybody needs. It's a curriculum. It's all set up. So it's a step-by-step thing. It's complicated, but we've got it down. We've done it hundreds of times. We can help people. So the curriculum and the program is really easy from your point of view. You just show up and give us your time, and we're going to make it happen for you. So can you predict the future of your health care? A lot of people say no, but the answer is yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because we all have this sense of catastrophe. Something can happen, something bad can happen. You can lower your chances of that catastrophe happening by taking care of yourself. You can't prevent it. I mean, there are things that happen you can't prevent, but you can lower the chances hugely by taking care of all the factors we talked about to do with your health. So, and getting on the right track. If you're on the path to increasing disease and illness, which some of you are on, that catastrophe is just waiting. You never know when it's going to happen. When I was in private practice, I had a patient, Lonnie. He had diabetes and high blood pressure, a touch of diabetes and a little high blood pressure. Those were his words. And he was happy-go-lucky, an easygoing guy. And I encouraged Lonnie. I knew he had some bad numbers, and I felt like he was at risk for heart disease. And so I wanted him to get on the treadmill so we could test his heart. And he was, no, doc, we'll do that next time. We'll talk about that next time. I feel fine today. The next time Lonnie came into the clinic, it was a different story. He failed to take action. When he came in the next time, he sat on the table and he told me, Doc, 2 weeks after I left your office last time, I had a massive heart attack. It was so bad they flew me to Baylor Hospital, and there my heart was so weak they had to put in an aortic balloon pump to support my heart. And from that pump, I got a clot in my leg and I lost my leg. That's why you see the crutches beside the leaning against the wall there. And I was in the ICU for 2 weeks, and the hospital another 2 weeks, and I was in cardiac rehab a full month. I just got out 2 weeks ago. My life will never be the same. Lonnie lived about another 6 months. He failed to take action. He paid the price for it. We don't want that to happen to anybody. So getting the right evaluation done in a timely manner can prevent a catastrophe like Ronnie had. We don't want that to happen to anybody. Determine the true underlying cause. We don't want to treat the numbers and give you medicines and not treat the underlying cause. We want to address the body as a whole, a systematic approach, and mentoring. Does this make sense to you guys? So, what we're offering you is a consultation in my office. Now, when you see your doctor, how long does he spend with you?
Mine talks a lot, so we're there a long time.
Okay.
30 minutes sometimes.
Okay, well, don't name your doctor. It's going to be really busy. I can probably guess within a name or two who that is. But the national average, the doctor spends 3 to 7 minutes with people. And that doesn't matter if it's a nurse practitioner or a doctor or a physician's assistant. It's not very much time. And what does it cost when you see your doctor? Not your copay, but what's the total cost for that visit? The national average, again, is $200 to $300 for a visit to your doctor. So if you come into my clinic to see me, what should it cost you? Don't anybody say it should be free. I get that now, man. This is America, remember. It's not free here. Right. Well, so in my office, we do a complete wellness evaluation, a consultation, plan of action. What I usually charge is $287 for 1 hour consultation. So for those of you who've been here tonight, we do a special discount, $127. And for those of you willing to sign up tonight, we'll discount this down to $87, just as a special favor for those of you who are willing. And if your spouse or significant other comes in with you, I got a twitchy finger, I guess, I don't know. If your spouse or significant other comes in with you, it's only $47 more. So when you come into my office, let me just explain what's going to happen. You're going to meet the rest of my office staff. You're going to get a tour of the facilities. And the main thing is you're going to fill out some paperwork ahead of time. I'm going to sit down at that paperwork already, getting your tour. We're going to sit down and go over that face to face. And we're going to talk about your health and how your health and the things that are going with your health are going to affect your future. Because this is not about right now. This is about the future. That's how we have to look. So we're going to spend time looking at that. So I get a lot of questions about, do I take insurance? No, it's not that I don't take insurance. Insurance just doesn't pay for what I do. It's sad, but it's true. Other questions I get is, can I afford your programs? And basically we have a lot of single working women and men on programs, and we have finance programs and stuff to make it work. So most of you, yes. The answer is yes, you can afford a program. So I have a few real simple rules. When you come into my clinic, the first one is fill out your paperwork completely before you come. Because if you don't, we're going to ask you to fill it out when you get there, and it's going to take away time from your consultation. The second rule is if you have a spouse or significant other, bring them with you if you can. And that's very important. So Shannon and Leslie, you guys are a couple, I assume. So if Shannon was going to have a heart test done and you're going to talk to the cardiologist about it, would you go, Leslie? Why? The usual answer is because I love them and I want to be done with it. That too, right. And that's exactly right. And I feel like the consultation that we're going to do is just as important as that meeting with the cardiologist. In fact, it might be the meeting that keeps you out of the cardiologist's office. So if you have a spouse or significant other, we're going to talk about real important things. Bring them along with you. Real important rule. Come on time, fill out your paperwork, bring your spouse or significant other. All right, does that make sense? Everybody on board? Ready to sign up? I hope so. I hope to see you all in the office, okay? Thank you for your time. And I will be standing over the side. If anybody wants to pick my brain or ask me some questions, feel free. I'll be staying